Here we go. Oh my god! Hey everyone, TimaeuSS here, and welcome to another Honkai Star Rail video. You're catching us live right now during Memory Chaos 9, testing the Yukong and Luocha combo. We're about to unleash our last hit on the final boss, okay? We've been cooking. So what we've been testing is how Seele is so good with this comp. There's Yukong, Silverwolf, Luocha, and Seele comp. The basis is that if you find an enemy boss that is either weak to quantum or lightning, sorry, not lightning, imaginary, Silverwolf will always land a new quantum or a new imaginary depending on what the boss is already weak to, right? Now, here are the buffs that we have stacked. This is our Seele, okay? Speed boost X2, this is from Eidolon 2. My Seele is Eidolon 6, ignore that. Got roaring bowstrings. This is attack increased by 70%, crit rate increased by 26, and crit damage increased by 58. This is from Yukong's, okay? This is from Yukong's buff. Okay, so we've got Yukong's buff, and we learned that if you kill an enemy, for example with your ult or with a skill and get the resurgence, that does not consume Yukong's turn countdown at all. So we still have 2 full stacks on Yukong, right? If you cut. And now we also have Silverwolf, which has applied all the debuffs we can think of on the enemy. The 2 damage reduction, one from the bug, one from the ult. And we've got Aether Code, 12% more damage, Entanglement, well, that doesn't matter at the moment, but the extra quantum weakness. So quantum resistance minus 20. Our Seele is also on the quantum set and on everything. So let's see how big this damage will look. Here we go. Oh my god! Almost 300,000. Alright, that just looked absolutely busted. We did it for MoC 9 as well as MoC 10, securing that easy 30 out of 30 stars. And I'll break the meta team down, going over all the units, their synergy, and key things you need to know to absolutely make them work. And a lot of interactions and intricacies that you need to understand that we briefly went over, but after the stream, of course, we need to cover a bit more in terms of what you need to know. Now, this team was originally discussed from the CM Bros. This was something they cooked up because it was when Silverwolf came out, they were discussing what are some of the double typings that would work, right? Because their iteration was if you place this team against, for example, a quantum weak enemy or a imaginary weak enemy, those are very, very common weaknesses that enemy is going to have, at least for the past few MoC seasons. So you're going to run this team into that boss, and the Silverwolf will either be able to implement the quantum weakness or the imaginary weakness, making this team everyone able to break the unit or the enemy character. So this was kind of circled around. We're thinking, you know, Silverwolf, Seele, of course, lockdown, and then you can either run Welt plus Yukong or Luocha or any other characters that are basically the 2 dual elements left to make this happen. Now, this iteration was what I believe essentially the best in terms of the synergy, and just provide obviously a quick rundown. Seele, your #1 DPS output, is just hands down no comparison at this current patch. Silverwolf enables Seele even more. Of course, you can go with the break build, but in this team composition, I think it's a lot better for her to be run as a pure support, right? They're having high defense down uptime, you're having quantum weakness applied, you need to land those weakness breaks, and it's just enabling your Seele. Now, for a lot of people who are E0 and you want to break damage during 80k, potentially even 100k, you can split them and have your Silverwolf as your second damage dealer, but I don't do that. So I try to get the maximum out of this, because this is what I run to usually the final bosses if I can. And then Yukong being added right now is just so good for this team. She provides an absurd amount of buffs in the form of crit rate, crit damage, and attack buff. And she also has a skill that allows her, right, to essentially provide the buff for 2 turns, right? That's her skill. However, if you use ultimate to cut, that does not consume a skill. And if a passive triggers from Seele, the resurgence, the extra turn, for example, that does not trigger the turn countdown. So technically, what you can do is take 4 turns with Seele. Of course, the ultimate cut, the resurgence from your normal turn, and it only consumes 1 turn from Yukong. 4 turns, but only consumes 1 turn. Absolutely broken in terms of synergy. And you saw there how we were able to do so much with these units. Luocha is there. Previously, I had Bailu, right? If I didn't have Luocha, I would run Bailu. This guarantees the survival of your team, okay? I cannot stress enough how many times with this team, because it's very glass cannon, it gets close to dying, gets debuffed by Kafka, for example, but Luocha is so strong, he would come and save the day. Not only do you have an emergency heal button when you get below 50% HP, you get topped up, and the dispel happens, so if you get controlled and you get low, that's totally okay. Luocha will come and save the day. And you also have the field from Luocha gets deployed, and then all of a sudden, Seele is healing everyone to their max HP with just a few resurgence turns. I think a lot of people count out Luocha early because they were saying, you know what, it's not like Natasha or it's not like Bailu. Luocha does not have, okay, an on-demand heal. But what they don't realize is once the flower is up, which you can easily get by triggering a passive into an ult or just a heal, once your flower field is up, and it can be up from the beginning when you use your battle technique outside, all of the attacking ults becomes on-demand heals, right? Because Seele ults, if you get an extra turn, that's 2 heals coming out, and Luocha heals for quite a significant amount, even with the flower field. And Silverwolf uses a skill and ults because Silverwolf has really high recharge rate to ult again. Boom! That is another 2 attack in the field to heal for your entire team because of the traces. So all in all, Luocha's heals are actually very, very impressive. Honestly, super good for what he brings to the table. Dispelling the enemy, preventing the revives, dispelling your own debuffs, and having that sustained heal is super strong. S+ tier is where I would place him, and we'll take a tier list, close look at the tier list in another time. But this is basically the breakdown of this team, and this is, in my honest opinion, one of the most broken teams since the game's inception, because we previously didn't have a super strong enabler, right? It was mostly prior, like Tingyun and Brony, if you want to turn cycle, 0 turn Seele, but now we're able to just use Yukong and then use Silverwolf, and you are not really caring about the enemy weakness, and you're not really caring about, you know, RNG, because Luocha eliminates the glass cannon aspects of this team. So this team's absolutely busted, and you saw how much damage we did, and we'll end this video here with our final fight against Kafka, where I try to showcase the ultimate damage coming out from Seele again. Alright, and then we have a clip to end it all. Here's Kafka in MoC 10. We're about to send her into her banner, I think around August, so sayonara for 2 months. We've got Yukong's buff going on. We have, of course, Seele and Silverwolf and Yukong all ready to go. We'll do an implant into Silverwolf's buff, into defense down. Oh my god, it killed! Okay, never mind.